Hi guys, it's Kat here, and today is my first episode of my first YouTube mini-series called What the Health. My series is going to be about basically covering mental health conditions or other health conditions that I personally have, which I'd like to share with you because I feel it's important to share that information with people, whether they have that condition or they have a family member, or maybe they just don't know about it. It's a big thing nowadays to kind of share that information so that people are aware more, and you have to bear with me because I'm not that great with these videos. So in this first episode I'm going to be discussing depression. Now I've suffered with depression for about, I'd say, 18 years, so since I was about 6, which is quite a young age. Recently I had someone ask me about depression. She doesn't know a lot about it. I mean, we get along really well, and she's really nice, but it's something I cannot discuss with that person because they don't understand depression. They've never had any experience in depression, obviously, and so this video is specifically not just for them but anyone else who doesn't understand it. So I think my first kind of glimpse of depression, really kind of a very down patch, was 18 years ago. My mum and dad split up, and it's not necessarily a blame game of who's to blame, but it did cause a lot of upset, and it is hard for parents to split up, whether they've been married or not. When there's younger children involved, especially. I broke up with Alice's dad a few years ago, and it was very hard for her to understand. Although she was only a few months old at the time, still a few years on, she's still trying to get to grips with the idea of going to dad's house, going to mum's house. And for us, I mean, I was 6 at the time, it was very, very hard. We had to go and see the school nurse to kind of as a counselling session, which is very hard to express our emotions. For me especially, it's really hard. But I think that's where it kind of started. In the past, I can't really remember too many down episodes. I think the first ones I really remember was when I was about 13 or 14. I got very, very low into a depressive state. I started self-harming. I would take a pair of scissors in my school bag and basically cut myself under the desk, which wasn't really clever, but at the time I thought it was, and I thought it was a bit of a relief, and you see it as that. And I did unfortunately start making plans and stuff, like, you know, to kill myself and stuff, which was quite hard for everybody. For my mum, she doesn't really understand depression because she doesn't suffer from it. Unfortunately, my siblings do, and it's very hard to support someone if you don't have that personal experience. So she found it quite difficult, and at one point I even tried to hang myself. I think I was about 15 at the time. I tried to hang myself in the bedroom with school tie, which again really wasn't clever, but you, at the time, you don't realise what you're doing and you don't think about it. You can't, if you're on that stage where you want to top yourself, it's very hard to take a step back unless you've got that support there. You can't do it as such, and you have to be brave and do it. And people say, oh, man up, do this, do that, and it's not really that case in the situation. Whereas at the moment I'm alright in myself, but then, and in those situations you're not, and you can look at it from a different perspective depending on what your mood is, and it's very, very difficult to be able to kind of look at it in that way when you're in that situation, and it's very hard. I think my next kind of major thing was when I was at college. I got very, very upset for some reason. I can't remember why it was. And at that point I was studying performing arts at college, level 1, and I always liked myself to kind of try and look a little bit decent, because obviously we were going on stage. And at that point I had eyebrow razors, which, if anyone knows, they're extremely sharp. They don't have a safety blade. Really not nice things. And I got so sad one day that I went into a toilet cubicle for a lesson. I didn't want to go to the lesson. I was so down and I really didn't want to know anybody. And yeah, I ended up cutting myself, blood everywhere. And I hid in this toilet cubicle for about an hour, until a teaching assistant came along and found me, kind of took me off to the nurse. I threw up because of the shock, and she bandaged it up for me, and she said, oh, you know, if anyone asks, just say you've hurt your arm, you've fallen over onto it, whatever. You don't need to tell them why. And I found it very hard. And over the years, I think since I was 15, I had like a proper counsellor at school and through college, and then I just gave up, and I went to mental health team. I went to CAMS and then the adult one, and it was very hard to talk to people because it seems like they're coming from a book. They don't know experience. They're just going, oh well, I've learnt this at university, I'm going to look at this book and see what methods I can give you to help. And some of those methods did help. I mean, I can't say, oh no, nothing helped, but not everything helps, and it's all about finding the right method to help you in a certain way. Present day, I mean, I've got Alice, and I don't tend to get a lot of depressive thoughts anymore. I did unfortunately have some back earlier in the year. I had started volunteering at her play group, and I was really happy, but I was very shy at the same time. And then suddenly my moods just went like that, and I, unfortunately, at the moment, because of that episode where I got very down, I'm not allowed to volunteer, which is quite hard for me, because being out and being with people, although it's hard to do that for me because I have a lot of issues socially with that, I feel it helps me, and it's a distraction, and a positive distraction, because when you're with children, they just make you smile. And especially my daughter, I mean, Alice is perfect, you know, she's a typical toddler, but you know, you can't blame them for any mistakes they make. You just, everything children say, it just makes you laugh, and you can smile at what they do, and they come up with the little comments and the questions, and also it gives you that positive feeling, obviously. At the end of the day, you're like, wow, I've played with a child. You see their little smile on their face, and you're like, yeah, it feels really good. And to be able to not do that because of letting myself get into that state again in present day, it's quite upsetting. I mean, I want to go back and try again, which I've asked to do, and I'm allowed to look at it again next year, which is great. But unfortunately, when you try and explain that kind of thing to someone, they think, oh my god, they can't cope, they can't do this, they can't do that. And explaining to someone and saying, actually no, I can do this, and actually I know where to stop now, and I've learnt my lesson. Although you can't say to someone, I try to explain to people that depression just doesn't go away. You can't wave a magic wand, it doesn't just go poof and into the air. You would love that, I mean, anyone would love that, but it's not that simple. And it's in the background, and it's all about managing it, I think, from the first stage, when you start feeling a bit kind of groggy about it, and you have to be able to say, yeah, no, I can't do this, I need to step back and take a step back. And that's what I feel I personally need to do. I mean, coping with it, I take medication now. I'm on citalopram, which lots of people, the person I tried to discuss depression with, and she didn't understand, she was a bit adamant about me taking tablets. And it's, you can say to them, you know, you don't have any experience in depression, so why are you adamant about me taking tablets if you don't know what goes through someone's head and how they are able to cope with something? You can't just say, oh no, you can't do that because that's not going to work, and poo-poo it, because you could say that to them about anything and they would get quite upset if you told them that they were wrong. But if you're wrong, it's no big thing, obviously. And so I cope using that, and I look at the method of what steps are there. You're on this ladder. If you climb too far up the ladder, so right at the top you've got really depressive state, you want to kill yourself. Right at the bottom you're like, yes, down to earth, really good. As you climb up that ladder, you've got to notice that you're climbing up that ladder, and you've got to be able to say, right, I need to stop, go and talk to someone about it. It doesn't need to be a professional. It could be a family member, a friend, a colleague, someone you can trust, and someone you can say, actually, I don't feel too great, this is what's happening, I do suffer with depression. And you have to be honest. You can't just go, oh no, I'm just a bit sad today. You can't do it. It just doesn't work. It's not right. It's hard, isn't it? I mean, how I see it is, I explain it to people in kind of, because I'm interested in looking after children and stuff, I explain it as a toy box. So depression, your life is like a toy box. Say it's a box of Lego, and this box of Lego has been sprinkled everywhere on the floor, Lego everywhere. I mean, that's a danger as a 20 adult. You tread on it, you scream. But you start to pack away your Lego. Now the Lego is the important thing because it belongs in the box, and that's your important things in life. So you go and put a pile of Lego into the box. A child comes along and puts a dirty nappy in there, say. That is maybe something that's a bad experience, something that's upset you, but you just ignore that, and you put another pile of Lego on top, which is the important stuff. And then say another child comes in there and puts half-eaten sandwich in there. Gross. So that's again another bad experience, but you're just ignoring it, and you're piling the Lego on top, and you're forgetting about those things, and they're being sandwiched in. Every bad thing, Lego on top is a good thing, bad thing, good thing. And by the time you've got this full bucket, it's only actually half full with the important stuff and half full with the unimportant stuff, and the unimportant stuff is lingering there in the background, and you're like, okay, I'm trying to fight this, but you ignored it going into you. And in fact, with that first bad thing, with the nappy going into that bucket, you should have said, no, I'm taking it out of there. But you don't realise it at the time, and it's very, very hard. I mean, depression and being a mum is a very difficult task, because you've got to put your child first, or children first. It is so important. Looking at it from a positive perspective, you want to be able to do the best for your child, and making sure that you are in a stable condition, like nearly all the time, is good. I mean, having a little cry, there's nothing wrong with crying into your pillow. Nothing wrong with it. It's not hurting anyone, as long as your children don't hear. Obviously that's fine, but you've got to be strong for them, and it's really important to be able to do that, because you don't want your children being affected by your emotions, because they are very sensitive. They do realise what's going on. They can see, oh, mummy's sad, daddy's sad. They go and talk about it, and they don't understand it. They don't understand why you're sad, and you've just got to kind of, not sucking it up in a way, but you've got to be able to say, okay, I need help on this, and I need to deal with it, because for my child's sake, it's so important. And it really is. It is one of those things. Okay, so thank you for watching this first episode. Please remember to like the video and subscribe to our channel. Also, in the comment section, please feel free to use it to discuss your thoughts on depression, your own experiences maybe, and any questions you may have for me on depression, as I will be answering this in the next episode. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and bye.